Just say no to cable spaghetti. Interesting. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Welcome to another fantasy show. I am Chuck Bass. Guys, what happened to 2024? Did you get the closure that you needed? Were you fulfilled? Were you satisfied? Do you have hate in your heart and do you need to let it out? Well, tonight is going to be the night that we finally turn the page on the disaster class that was the 2024 fantasy football season. This is another fantasy show. I'm Chuck Bass, broadcasting you live on the Player Profiler Now Plus broadcast stream. And please welcome to the stage today's guest, the Rizz God himself of fantasy football and player profiler, Bradley Stalder. Bradley, what's happening, dog?
Chuck, thanks for inviting me to another fantasy show. I love it. This is always getting the most okay, I always see the comments. And the people love the comments of this show, Chuck. You do a great job of bringing the goodness for the people.
The people deserve it. They've been through a lot. We're going to go through a lot tonight. But Bradley, I wanted to bring you on specifically because I think your energy matches mine. Your freak matches my freak. You just came off of a show, so you're hot and heavy. You're ready to rock. You mentioned the comments. Let's hit to him real quick. Ooh. Slashy is absolutely bombing 2 different Dynasty leagues I'm in with him right now. So shout out Slashy. We've got Andrew Cooper in the house who's complaining about the start time. This guy must hate going to movie theaters and must hate waiting for trailers. Because, I mean, come on, the good stuff's always coming. Slashy also said, the last time I experienced disappointments like this was when I told my wife I would go longer than 55 seconds. 55 is very specific. Shout out Player Profiler. And screw you, Coop. I'll see you on the sticks in a little bit. Bradley, that's a long-winded way that nobody wanted to hear of me to say, how are you? How does one become a Rizz God?
Well, here's the deal. First, get an X account. Then tweet about Juwan Johnson.
Are we talking about the same X account, or is this something different?
Not a triple X account, Chuck. It's just a singular X account. Just single. And then you got to tweet about. Is it tweet? Is it publish? Is it post? Like what is the verb now, Chuck, on this X machine?
I go with preach, but I guess that's probably dependent upon the user.
So, okay, we'll preach about Juwan Johnson at being a fantasy option for the tight ends. Shout out Andrew Cooper, also lover of tight ends. But
triple X's, tight ends. We're really starting off hot tonight.
Look, this is why Chuck brought me on. Look, this is great. But you tweet about or post or preach about Juwan Johnson, and this was before Elon had gotten rid of all the spam bots. So all the spam bots with all of their profile pictures just started liking my Juwan Johnson tweet to the point that it was mostly spam bots who liked my stuff. And so I quote tweeted it and said, took a screenshot and said, looks like the ladies love my Juwan Johnson take. And to that was my most popular tweet ever. It was like 300,000 impressions, hundreds of thousands of likes. Like it was
life-changing.
It moved me.
So you got the real life version of this.
Oh, that sounds like she fully wants it, man. Oh, yeah. Who's gonna give it to her, huh, my man? You. That's who. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So then Theo Greminger, shout out Theo at the OG Fantasy. Shout out to Theo. Love Theo. He commented, Rizz God.
Mm-hmm.
And then I instantly replied, change his bio, because the irony here,
a legend was born.
Yeah, it's all about irony. We're here about the stories. The irony is that, I don't know, I am a Catholic elementary school principal with 5 children, right? And I've been married almost 10 years. There's an irony that the spam bots, the porn spam bots, are the ones who are trying to interact with my tweet. You can see how this is almost scandalous. That when
you have 69 in the background of your podcast stream, I can see where this is all, where the dots are all connecting.
Look, it's a David Bakhtiari tweet or a signed jersey. This is on brand for all the Packers paraphernalia. We're here for this. We are
here for that. All right, I've got one question for you, and then we'll get to the buttery goodness that is today's show. Who is the most hated Packer of all time? And not Aaron Rodgers. Can't say Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, most hated Packer? It's got to be Greg Jennings now.
Oh, relevant, topical, in the news. Okay, understandable. Walk us through that.
Yeah, pretty much like everyone hates Greg Jennings because he will hate on everybody. I don't know. I like almost all of the players. Like a lot of people think that Brett Favre is a jerk, and he messed up a lot of. He did mess up a lot. Look,
that's some excellent whitewashing of the Brett Favre welfare scandal. But yeah,
I'm trying very hard, Chuck, to reclaim the innocence of my childhood, where I was a Brett Favre fan for a very, very long time in my youth. And it's very difficult for me to let that go.
Understandable.
It just is. So, but Greg Jennings, I don't have that same affection for. And so when he comes out and criticizes everybody, I'm not here for that, bro. So even if you're right, I'm not here for it. I'd rather
understandable. Coop says Darren Sharper's up there.
Yeah, he murdered somebody, didn't he?
Darren Sharper not even making the list with having a actual body count is that's fantastic. That's Midwest at its peak. Pardusky said, I see a Lazard jersey. Make that Chuck's pick. Yeah, it's possible that Lazard isn't there because he screwed me a lot this year. Not to tip my hat. So a couple of things, guys. First, if you guys are new to the stream, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and stream. Hit that like button, sub to the Player Profiler Now Plus channel. Would mean a lot to us as we get this bad boy rocking and rolling. And one more thing I want to do. You're seeing a new promo code tonight. You're seeing our new fancy big time sponsor, Fast Draft Fantasy. You want to know a little bit more about the Fast Draft app? Let me tell you more. Actually, you know what? Let's get somebody who's more qualified.
Oh, I see all this mock draft information out there. Oh, this mock, that mock. Hey, what about a real actual fantasy game? The Flex 4 game on Fast Draft, draftfaster.com, is open. You draft 6 running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. The top 4 enter your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's that simple. Drafts take 5 minutes. There's a $50,000 prize pool. It's $15,000 to first. It's just a $5 entry. And the best part, no rake. No rake whatsoever on Fast Draft. The first 2025 Best Ball contest to open in the world is ready for you to draft up to 150 teams. Draftfaster.com, draftfaster.com. Start playing Best Ball for real.
For real, baby. How's the Fast Draft been treating you lately, Bradley?
Oh, it's fun advertising for it. It is difficult to play when you're in Michigan.
Sure. You have to get a foreign VPN and maybe do some internet scouring to get that back end going.
Look, I refuse to comment because I will never go on record about anything like that. The regulators in Michigan might be watching, and I don't want to ever give, Billy Muzio any difficulty in terms of all the work that he's put in behind the scenes. That's, because a lot of people have asked, where is Billy? And he is working his tail off behind the scenes for Player Profiler for making Fast Draft a thing. So I would never do anything to upset that ecosystem. So unfortunately, I've been having to abstain from Fast Draft, but happy to share the goodness that everyone else is doing. It's almost like the guys who work for Underdog, like they can't play on the platform, So this is kind of like
the game.
Yeah,
love the game.
We love it. We're here for it.
I got you. Well, for anyone who's watching right now, for anybody who'll be enjoying the stream, I've been doing a ton of Fast Draft. We're going to be doing some live streams on here as well. So, if I'm playing, your chances of winning are pretty good. So you're going to want to go ahead and sign up. And don't forget, using that promo CBAS will get you that deposit match. So get in there, be hot, whoop my ass. A lot of people that are in these comments right now are currently trying to whoop my ass in several different dynasty drafts. And Bradley, a rare opportunity has presented itself to us right now, which is we have an opportunity for you to coach me through a live pick in a sleeper dynasty startup that I am currently in right now. So let's pull the screen up here and let's make podcasting history as being the first people to ever do this, I assume. As you can see here right now, let's pull the roster up. I'm looking at Justin Herbert, Bijan, James Cook, Puka Nacua, Josh Downs, Chris Godwin, newly signed Buccaneer to be soon Chris Godwin. Shout out him. Kyle Pitts, everybody's favorite. Zach Charbonnet, Isaiah Likely, and then I've got the 2nd and the 4th pick in first round of this year's rookie draft. So we could be looking at some wide receivers out of Arizona, some running backs out of Ohio State or Ole Miss. You tell me, we'll figure things out. Who knows? But the point is, who are we taking with this next pick?
Oh, well, let's take a look. I'm squinting here.
Let's see if I can get us a little close up here of the goods to be had.
There we go. And that can work. Okay.
Now, you have to remember that you'll see some people in here. We've got a couple fantasy or a couple football guys making some picks up here. Everyone else is a scrub, so you don't have to worry about anybody else who's in this league. So just assume we're drafting against complete amateurs. And let's just go with your gut here. We've got some I only have one quarterback right now, and that quarterback is Justin Herbert. So depending on how you feel about some of these other guys, I'm sorry, this is a mistake. I should have Deshaun Watson starred. That's a massive oversight.
I was about to say, Andrew Cooper's going to hold it against me if I don't say anything and about Darren Sharper, but we got to
smart, savvy.
There's a lot of great running backs available. The problem is there's going to continue to be great running backs available. Indeed. That's how I'm approaching it. I think quarterback could get. I
agree.
Quickly.
I agree, and I'll tell you. And this is actually perfect. It's a perfect segue of your previous show because it's one of the parts I just caught. Feeling maybe a little bit of this guy.
Oh yeah,
maybe a little 2 to 3 year. This guy who can, regardless of the offensive coordinator, put up nice stats, not league-winning stats, but competitive stats. So that's who I like. However, I'm not a married man when it comes to these old quarterbacks.
Yeah, looking at the list of who's the best chance of giving you 2 to 3 years, it's probably Geno. The reality is even before Geno took over the full-time role, he was like a top 12 quarterback in many efficiency metrics. The year where he stepped in for Russ for those 4 or 5 games, a lot of his PFF grades were very high that year. And he was a player that I was drafting a lot. And I wrote like an enormous thread about how Geno Smith is the answer to many of our late round quarterback fantasy questions going into that year. And Geno Smith retweeted it, or reposted it. And then he goes on to put on a major year. So Geno and I go way back. And by way back, I mean just the last couple of years. But there's a soft spot in my heart for a Geno Smith he overcame the New York Jets.
He did. He survived. He's like Rose at the end of Titanic. He was able to lay on the door and float his way to a life married to a rich guy and probably inherited all this stuff. Off to a pretty nice start last year, 4 top 10 finishes in his first 5 games. And then the offensive line fell apart. The wide receiving core was up and down. They got rid of Grubbs, which I thought was surprising. I understand why they did it. I was interested to see them move on so quickly. We'll see where things go this year, but I think this is where my heart lies given the rest of the options.
And the press conference for the new offensive coordinator in Seattle was effusive about getting Kenneth Walker involved. They believe DK Metcalf is going to be an important part. There have been rumors he's going to be traded. I don't think so. And they're going to move on from Tyler Lockett, which is fine. Yep. So
I liked what Clint Kubiak was doing last year in New Orleans. I think those 2 games were like an addition for this next job because he wanted to get the fuck out of there. And things unraveled there so quickly that it's hard to whatever was heads or tails is really hard for me to decide. But you know what? In the interest of the Rizz God, the Geno God, and just really tearing this league, splitting it in half like a Twin City hooker, let's go with Geno Smith and let's feel good about it.
Excellent. Yeah, you love to see it.
Feels good. You do love to see it. All right, Bradley. I gave you some homework for today's show. So everyone's wondering, what the fuck? When are these guys going to start talking about today's subject? And you're about to get that moment right now. So today We're going to slam the door shut on 2024, and we're going to look forward to 2025. We're going to do it in style. So we each took 5 different individuals who ruined our life last year, who ruined our seasons, ruined our family life, ruined our work life, made commuting really, really a problem. And you are the guest of honor, and I'm going to let you pick whichever one of these 5 you want to start with. We're going to go a little dealer's choice, a little fun here. So tell us about the first individual that absolutely screwed you in 2024.
Yeah, that's Tyreek Hill, guys. Tyreek Hill. And the reason why he screwed us was not because of the production. Like, that was not the issue. And it wasn't even like the post week 1 arrest 100-yard game. Like, that was not what screwed us. It was that he knew, and his agent confirmed this, that his wrist was fractured in the preseason and no one reported it. That's how he screwed us. That is the issue. That is why I still have grievances. Chuck. Like, we knew that.
Oh, you're doing such a good spotlight. Like, we knew, and they let it happen like that. You sound just like Mark Ruffalo from the Oscar-winning film Spotlight, if for any of the deep cuts out there. So I have to ask you, looking back at the season, seeing him in handcuffs with that specific injury, how does that make you feel as a Tyreek Hill owner last season?
Like, it was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. Because not just that, like, I rostered a lot of Tyreek Hill, like above average. So like average is what, 8%. I was more at like 12 to 14. It depends on the platform, but like I was above average. But I am the news desk director for Player Profiler. If there's anyone who should know anything about what's going on anywhere for I hear all the rumors. I'm the one who squashes the NFL, MFL football, Twitter.
Oh, the dove. You're the dove climbing killer.
I am like the aggregator. Okay. I have to distill. I am very focused on presenting good news for our people, playerprofiler.com/news. Like, I want to make sure we're getting good news out to our people, but I had no idea. There was nothing. They kept it hidden under the pillows, under the rugs. They murdered people over it. Like, I'm sure that existed. Like, if anyone talk about it, this is outrageous. So I am still mega hurt by Tyreek Hill. And fractured
I get you. The number, I mean, how can a guy have a fractured wrist and still have 5 newborn children in the same year? Someone's going to have to tell me what the hell is going on. Elon Musk doesn't have shit on Tyreek Hill. This is brutal. And the chat agrees. Pretty much, I haven't seen a wide receiver of his caliber take his position. And I don't mean wide receiver. I mean like his stature in the league, his tenure, how much he means to the team, fantasy football players, whatever it is. Just doesn't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't give a rat's ass, and it's commendable. However, when you don't care that much, you tend to break the hearts of the ones who care the most. And we're those guys this year.
Oh,
it hurts. It hurts. All right, Tyreek Hill, add him to the board, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we'll ping pong here a little bit, and I'll take my next pick. So you went wide receiver. So just for fun's sake, I'm going to go with today's leading graphic man, Christian McAffrey, ladies and gentlemen. Now this one's kind of a layup because burned every single person that drafted him because there wasn't really a team that was built there where he wasn't either the focal point or at least the launching off point for the rest of their strategy, right? Like going in, you think I draft CMC, the weakest part of my team can be my running back too, or so on and so forth. But it was just the way that they handled it. It was the lies. It was the betrayal. Like it was a return to form, but it was the form where he didn't play at all. And when he did play, he wasn't exactly a league winner. Week 1 starter, Friday before Sunday's games, ruled out Sunday, put on IR 5 days later. It was just Shanahan in an absolute, like if I could distill the Kyle Shanahan experience down to one specific moment, it would be that. And I actually have an accompanying clip.
You're a liar. You're a liar! You know something that you're not telling us, you slimy scumbag liar! Liar! Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
It's brutal, and I'm still going to take him next year because I'm all talk. I'm no walk. So it hurts me a lot. Did he hurt you in any meaningful way in 2024?
I identified him as the one player in the first round I was not drafting.
Nice. Well,
yeah.
was that like an omen? Was that his carry? He's had too much work, too much usage, or was it just like you like somebody else better?
Yeah. So this was an accumulation. So like almost for the opposite reason or opposite thing that happened with Tyreek Hill. We had news. We had rumblings that there were issues, soft tissue issues with Christian McCaffrey the entire offseason. But, you know, I agree with you. There was legitimate dishonesty in terms of the extent of these issues with regard to Shanahan. I agree with you. He should have been more forthright. They told Jordan Mason like that he was going to be the starter before it came out, and then Jordan Mason like betrayed the team. Do you remember this?
He was frozen. He didn't know what to do. He looked like they were interviewing somebody at the halftime of like a college basketball game, and they had too many. He was just like frozen in the spotlight, and he let it slip a little bit.
Right, and so like they're playing dirty, but they got caught. They got caught. Whereas the Tyreek Hill people, you know, whoever Tyreek has him, you know, working for him, they worked out well. But McCaffrey was, or not well for us.
Something like that. Sure.
Nevertheless, McCaffrey was a player, though, that like he was on the wrong edge, wrong side of the age apex. He was a player that we know that San Francisco running backs just get injured. Like it's just part and parcel of their scheme of running with hard cuts. And McCaffrey, as I said, wrong age of the apex. He has a history of soft tissue issues. He's missed full seasons before, so there's like the narrative fit, and then plus the X factor of Shanahan being a liar. Like you can't trust what he says. Like now we all know, but Shanahan is also the coach that like puts Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse and Dante Pettis in the doghouse, and like throws. Oh, who is that running back that they drafted in the third round that like from Ohio?
Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon. Yeah. They just threw to the wolves. Like, why? Like what? Why?
Why?
Right. And so the doghouse is very strong with Shanahan. He lies a lot. Like that's part of his like coach speak index. So that's why you got to pay attention more to, you know, the PlayerProfiler.com/news. We were reporting that, you know, you should be wary of Christian McCaffrey going into the season.
Bingo. So I'm going to say what everyone else is thinking. Soft tissue issues. Should we just call it soft tissues? What is going to be, what should we call? We need a word. And this is our opportunity to strike while the iron's hot before the rest of the community follows up.
Ooh.
Should we coin a term for it right now? Chat, help us out if you think there's one there. At least keep it on your mind throughout the show. I like to push words together. I don't know if that's that's part of my DNA or not. What are you thinking for this?
Sissues. I don't know.
Sissues.
It's just sissues,
right.
man.
The placeholder for now, he's got sissues. I like that. That's what
it feels like, you know, an STD almost. Like I've got sissues, you know.
I've got sissues. Everyone's got issues. I've got sissues. All right. I like that. Okay, I'm going to cue you up for your next one here. So you have eliminated Tyreek Hill from your player pool. You have got nothing but borderline heartbreaking players left, including a coach here. Who do you want to go next for your player?
We'll stay with the Hills, and it's Taysom Hill. Right.
No.
I know. It's
I heard that. I wish I didn't hear that, but I just heard that.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for two different reasons, Chuck. One is, of course, the ACL injury, right? The midseason ACL, it's devastating. It hurts. Like Taysom Hill has been the thorn in fantasy manager sides for many years because they don't know what to do with him. They don't know whether to play him at quarterback or tight end, or, you know, is he a running back in some sites? Who knows? But the other reason is it's heartbreaking because he had good enough games that would have been massive week winners if he was a insert expletive tight end, Chuck. If he was a tight end, and FFPC had the chance to do the right thing. They had the chance to do the right thing. It was a week before the start of the season. And in their bylaws, they said that if he was listed on the depth chart before the start of the season, they would change his position. And they didn't. And they didn't,
Why?
Chuck.
Why are we beholden to these institutions? Why do we let them have
the
these
worst
powers
part,
over us?
Chuck, is that they did the opposite thing last year. They said it was in the bylaws, so they couldn't change it, and then they did change it, and then it was whatever. They disregarded the bylaws.
Whoa.
They
It's pretty great
the
that
bylaws 2 years ago, and then they hold the bylaws. I don't know, whatever. I can't even keep it straight. I'm just so upset.
Coop's on. He's with the man on this one. He's taking the big brother side on here and said they're doing the Lord's work.
I love the FFPC and almost every other decision. I just vehemently disagree with their Taysom Hill stance that they've taken the last 2 years, and that's been heartbreaking.
You might be entitled to financial compensation. We might be able to get some sort of class action going with you because I'm on the same page as you on that one. We got a submission here for our coin, but limp issues. We might need like the LinkedIn pronunciation for me guys because it's I'm not doing so well lately. Okay. I like that we're getting some feedback though. Okay, so Taysom Hill, we never know what to do with. And you know what? This is an interesting parallel to like not all of these are guys that like really just pissed us off. Like some of them were kind of heartbreaking. Like I thought I struck gold with him last year, and this is going to be like there's nothing. They don't know what they're doing in New Orleans. This is kind of like maybe a little bit more reliable than years past. Ripped from our hearts.
Clint Kubiak, come on. Yeah.
Whatever. Who we love in Seattle. Great guy. Smart, talented OC. Going to be a fantastic play caller. All right. So you have body bagged the Hills here, and you hate to see it, but more importantly, you love to see it. The chat here is doing something frustrating to me is they're using the opportunity of me being on a live stream to try and manipulate my next pick in the fantasy draft. And I'm not going to take us back to that, but I would just like you to know that they're prying on my live stream character and emotions and they're trying to manipulate me into making a bad pick. I'm focused on the stream, Bradley. I'm not going. I'm not.
I appreciate it, Chuck.
They can wait. They can fuck off. I have 8 hours left on that clock. It's not going to be a big deal. All right. So what do we got next here? We're looking at another player who absolutely ripped our guts out from the inside. I'm going to play to my guest here. Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers. I mean, I have a section of notes here, and at the top of it for this one, it just says, what the fuck? It started off so good. The wide receiver one, he left Brazil as the #1 wide receiver for fantasy in the world. He was an absolute rock star in that opening game against the Eagles, despite the turf. And the rest of the season kind of just fell apart. Watson, he was basically a no-show, and then the injury happened. Dubs is getting suspended. Dontavian Wicks can't catch passes. Bo Melton really never found a groove. Run game was really strong, and they obviously leaned into that pretty heavily. But most importantly, he just didn't have the snaps. Only 2 games the entire season where he had over 70% of the snaps. If you had told me that going in, he was somebody I was probably unusually high on going into the season. But if you had told me that, he would have been somebody that I would have borderline not even would have considered. He had 4 games with under 10 yards. Some very strange no-shows in some matchups where the Packers actually put up points. So Jayden Reed was an absolute brutal one for me, and he was brutal most importantly down the stretch. Finishes of wide receiver 38, 60, 85, 35, 36, and 108 in the championship game. I cannot imagine leaning that far into the bit going down the stretch. But Jayden Reed, he broke my heart last year. I hated to see it. He's still so young. I think he's a talented player. How did he affect your 2024 season?
You know, going over the summer, I went on Mind a Mansion with Matt Kelly, and he asked me for the one player that I was avoiding in 2024 drafts.
Oof.
And
so you said Christian McCaffrey, and then the conversation moved on. And then you said, wait, hold on.
No. The one player I was avoiding because he was like McAffrey was like within the first round, like he was just a 0 in the first round. But I didn't get the Jayden Reed hype, and I said that the player that I was avoiding was Jayden Reed, and the reason why, even though I was wrong with the reasons, but it was the right output. I don't know. Sometimes you get lucky like that.
Gut feel. Rizz guys have gut feel. That's what makes them Rizz.
That's how it works. The reasons I gave were the 2 tight end sets, which really didn't happen very much.
Sure.
And I also said that the Romeo Doubs wasn't going to go away. Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to go away. And Dontavion Wicks seemed like a decent enough player. So there's just a lot of mouths to feed. And I thought, and then week 1 happened. And I felt like, oh no, Chuck. Oh, insert expletive. Oh no.
He was the offense week 1. Yep.
Right. I'm in trouble. Like maybe I should quit giving fantasy advice to my team, the Packers. Maybe I should just up and quit. Like, what am I doing rankings wise? Like, anyways. So,
it was looking really good though. You're right.
Yeah. And then, I felt redeemed, throughout the rest of the season. The reality is the Packers, the biggest issue for them was that Jordan Love wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the biggest issue was he was worried about X, Y, and Z happening, like the pocket collapsing, getting injured again. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself to make throws. And, that's why Tucker Kraft was able to take steps forward. He was a nice part of the offense. But Jayden Reed is just a role player, and I think that's how the offense now is like clearly identified. Christian McCaffrey or Christian Watson, clearly a role player, a down the field stretcher. Romeo Doubs, possession guy. Jayden Reed, quick. He's like if Kadarius Toney was good.
and not committing crimes. I get you. I understand. I understand the sentiment there.
So there's a role for Jayden Reed, and he does have elite ceiling, but his floor is a 0. And that's what we just need to live with. He's more of a best ball player than put him into a confident start him flex type of like, he's not matchup dependent. He's just like, I'm going to go off any day, but mostly not.
And you know what? And we just didn't have the intel yet. We needed that second season, and we might even need a third. So Jayden Reed, I felt, because he was one of those guys, and I was on the opposite side of the coin for you. I was unreasonably high, and clearly unreasonably high. I can underline that right now going into the season. And week 1, just like, oh, I was right. It was almost vindicating, being like, yeah, all those takes were right. Feels pretty good. An entire 6 months worth of shit posting and fighting with guys in the comments online is verified, and now I can move on. Turns out not to be the case. And there are some nice indicators, like you said. He was very good against man coverage. His yards per route run was terrific. He's just, they're always going to look good when you're not getting quite the volume as a Jamar Chase or a Nico Collins or a Puka Nacua.
Right.
All right. So that'll be my next wide receiver here. So we're moving down the list here. We're moving good. Let me turn back to you for your next player who stuck it to you last year.
Well, we'll move to a coach, actually, if that's all right, Chuck. We're going to take the coach for this one.
And I love it.
It's Shane Waldron, offensive coordinator, ex-offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. And I was you talk about you being unreasonably high on Jayden Reed. I was unreasonably high on DJ Moore. He was.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Pain and suffering.
Yes. Oh, yes. And DJ Moore finished okay, but I drafted the snot out of him because DJ Moore had a great season in 2023 with Justin Fields. And the logic I used was Caleb Williams is greater than Justin Fields. Ergo.
Airtight logic, if you ask me.
Ergo, like, what's the worst that can happen? Well, DJ Moore still is fine, but he didn't explode. And I put chips in that generational talent. Caleb Williams would just elevate, everybody around him. And Rome Odunze didn't do very well. And Keenan Allen had some spike weeks, the vet spike weeks that you would expect from those types of players. But DJ Moore was disappointing, and Shane Waldron is to blame. Shane Waldron is to blame.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me ask you this, were you remotely excited or even curious about his hiring in the offseason after what he had done in Seattle?
Yes. Look,
I love the honesty. You know, that was an opportunity for you to lie to me right now, and you're giving the people the truth.
Yes, but yeah, look, we live and we learn, we move forward, and we try to yes, it's fun to rag on and give all these players, the grievances, blah, blah, blah. But this is also learning moments. I'm an educator at heart. I've been in education for 12 years. Learning from these moments are really key. So when you have not just below league average offensive coordinators, but bottom 3 coordinators who have strong say in how things are supposed to go in an offense. That's why, Matt Nagy, as long as he's in Kansas City in the role that he's in, we've got to be fading Patrick Mahomes as a top quarterback for fantasy. Is Mahomes talented enough to occasionally be a top 5 quarterback on a week? Yes, of course. Absolutely. He's one of the top 2 talents in the NFL. But when you have these bottom 3, bottom 10th percentile coordinators, even the Mahomes are affected significantly. So
yeah, it's pain and suffering. And that's actually a great tip to my next pick here. And I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. I'll ask you one more question before we move on. Did the shift in offensive coordinators over the last couple of years that have faltered? We've seen some really good ones, right? Liam Cohen, speaking of Tampa, Dave Canales and Liam Cohen both did bang up jobs. Kellen Moore, bang up job. There's several more we could list, but has how you view offensive coordinator hires changed at all in the last season or two, or even maybe this offseason, going into how you're going to evaluate some of these guys and shifting dynamics?
Yeah, I think the resume and the trees do lend themselves. The discipleship argument is really key. We do want to find because we don't know much about these coaches. Oftentimes if we're monitoring how quickly these coaches are being moved from offensive coordinator to other plays, from backup offensive line coach to now he's offensive coordinator. Literally that was the Thomas Brown pathway, right? He was just a coach, one of the offensive coaches, and then he becomes offensive coordinator, and then he becomes head coach very quickly. The ascension of these players, it's very hard to have good samples from them. And so what the data that we have is from where their coaching tree is. That's probably the best indicator of their future success for right now, because we don't have other data to really suggest it. And how much sure, they were the backup offensive line coach and the offensive line did really well, but how much influence did they actually have in the room? How much did they influence the scheme and the personnel? The reality was it talent was able to overcome certain deficiencies? Those are major questions. So that's, I think, what we need to rely on in these unknown offensive coordinator scenarios who don't have strong resumes.
That's a good point, especially when they're coming from these teams that have traditionally been pretty talent laden when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. You think about Waldron coming from Seattle, or like an Eric Bieniemy going to Washington, or Shane Steichen going from Philly down to Indianapolis. There's been always the signs, but coalescing that seems to be very difficult. So I like that. That's great stuff. We'll get to mine right here, right after I remind the audience, guys, Fast Draft. We talked about earlier in the show. You're seeing the promo codes left and right. The tides are rising. Get on while you can. 2025 Best Ball is live, featuring the all rookie origins contest. You're a Dynasty guy. You're watching a fantasy football show in February, 2 weeks after the Super Bowl just ended. Yeah, you're probably enjoying the rookie content. We're doing all rookie drafts. Use the code FAST for a free draft with your first deposit match. Trust me, you are going to love it. I am loving it. You love it. The American people love it. Now, let's talk about something that we did not love this year. Patrick Mahomes, you teased him. You talked about him. He's the most obvious answer for quarterback that you can give. I always think the biggest quarterback busts are the ones that you can't blame on injury. You can't blame. There's not a single injury to this unit that you can blame for the failure for Patrick Mahomes to put up sizable, even relevant fantasy football production for 2024. And I was excited about him going into the year. I will be honest. I really liked, I didn't think they were going to be the explosive attack they had been in the past. I didn't think they were going to lead the league in passes behind or at the line of scrimmage. Absolutely infuriating for me. But I did tweet. I don't know if I was drunk last season. I don't know if I had a moment of clarity, but that moment, for that instance, I was right. So Patrick Mahomes has entered the Tom Brady zone where he's the best quarterback in the league, but he is not in the top 7 or 8 for fantasy. And I still saw him on the board when draft season came along and fell for it. And I was right in that for that very brief high period of time. His weekly finishes, let's look at his weekly finishes. 2 finishes in the top 5 all season long, played all the games. Just in that, he did do nice in the fantasy football playoffs, but you probably didn't make the finals or the playoffs if you invested in early ADP QB2 in Patrick Mahomes. So Bradley, I'm going to flip it to you again. I'm going to ask you a hard question. Did Patrick Mahomes deserve to lose the Super Bowl the way he did because of the fantasy football performance he put up in the regular season?
Did he deserve to lose? I thought you were going to end there. And I said, yes, but because of fantasy football, we gotta be honest. Like,
this is catharsis. We're getting all the bad thoughts out now, so we don't have to deal with them.
Is it because of fantasy football? No, it's actually, I think the opposite. It's actually like what manifested in the Super Bowl is exactly like the issues that led to like season long is the offensive creativity wasn't there. He depended significantly on big plays to develop. Like the Xavier Worthy development is going to be very interesting. But losing Rashee Rice, terrible. And also
that was
the
hard.
fact that he took out Rashee Rice after like 4 games. Like, oh, that's terrible for fantasy too. We should be upset at him for that.
That's something that gets overlooked in a lot of the conversation. I think honestly is because most people forgot about how the actual play went down. Just hard to see because I actually just saw it again on my timeline today for the first time in maybe 4 months, and it is their season. You can see it in one snapshot. That's the entire Chiefs going down the tube.
Oh, yeah. You said he was ADP quarterback 2, Chuck. I had him projected as my quarterback 11 going into the season.
Ooh, so not only are you dumping on him, you're flexing on us.
Look. We're here for that. Look, this is how bad the 2024 season was for Patrick Mahomes. Bryce Young had a higher best ball value rating than Patrick Mahomes in 2024. Ouch.
Wow. Everybody's favorite, a guy who has done no wrong, a guy who has lifted boats for people left and right. QB 11. Is there anything the Chiefs can do to make that number jump up to 5?
Fire Matt Nagy and getting capable offensive coordinator there.
All right, now we're talking. You know what? They're sobering up. You know, sometimes we like to see how far we could push the boundaries.
Fire Matt Nagy. Andrew Cooper in the chat says, "Be more mean, Stalder." Fire Matt Nagy. We need the rally cry for the fantasy football community. Needs to rally around this. If there's one issue this season, I'm surprised that people aren't asking. Because. However you feel about Trump, like he's executive ordering things left and right.
Oh, now we're talking, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the after hour politics meets fantasy. We're going to get into declaring the cartels terrorist organization. We're going to get into Doge budget cuts, but let's talk about Matt Nagy.
Let's get Matt Nagy fired. Look, if Trump is going to outlaw plastic straws or paper straws, like we need Matt Nagy gone as offensive coordinator for the Chiefs.
If you're going to outlaw paper straws, outlaw paper offensive coordinators. And let's get somebody get that on a koozie and let's start drinking with it. I love it. Chat loves it. Everybody loves it. And everybody hates what we're having. It's because we know, right? With this offense, it's not like some of these the Chargers offense, which is kind of stalled and had pieces over the years, or what's another one? Like the Cowboys that have never really reached those heights that we saw bits and pieces of. Like we've seen this Chief offense be the number one most effective and devastating offense in the league for multiple seasons he's winning MVPs with Juju and MVS. Like this, just the change in approach is just hard to swallow. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And it hurts a lot. So I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. And I think America is too. So we just really, that's the, hey, Jared, if you're watching the stream still right now, that's what we're clipping socials with potentially. It's that last little 5-minute segment right there. All right. We got a couple more to go here and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Tell us about your next person who just absolutely pulled the rug out.
Yeah, it's Tank Bigsby. I faded that guy into oblivion. Faded him into oblivion. And for good reason. Tank Bigsby was historically one of the worst running backs in NFL history in his rookie season. Like efficiency metrics at the bottom. Just everything went wrong. Everything. There wasn't a sliver of hope except for the narrative that second-year running backs get better. And somehow he comes out of nowhere and like usurps Travis Etienne's job. And it's almost the like reverse fortune of like a player that I faded into oblivion doing well. And inexplicably just good player. Every 20-yard run that Tank Bigsby ran, I felt like I lost a year of my life.
Well, no, you're right. Because it's like sitting at the blackjack table and you're playing your hands right and you're busting, or the dealer's hitting 18s and the guy next to you is staying on 6 and he's ending and the dealer's busting, or he's hitting on 17 and getting 4s and getting 21. Like this was way down on the list of probable outcomes for the 2024 season.
So frustrating. So frustrating. Because I felt smart. I felt smart about drafting Travis Etienne, fading Tank Bigsby. I'm like, there's no indicators of Tank Bigsby to do well. And then what does he do? He makes me look foolish. And so I'm holding against you, Tank Bigsby. Stop being good.
What? You gotta be kidding me.
That was me after about 4 weeks of taking Travis Etienne over Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Kyle Williams, you name them. I was doing it. Not in all of them, but in one of my leagues that I wanted to win the most, that I will never forget it ever. Travis Etienne did not have a single finish in the top 20 all season long. Tank Bigsby had 3. So that's not like that, but that's the funny part about it. And that kind of plays into what you're talking about. He wasn't like some world beater who just kind of came out of nowhere to be like a top 12 to 15 running back. He was just better than Travis Etienne, and it ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. In my projections, I had Travis Etienne as my running back 8. Like
I would have loved nothing would have made me happier in the world today than for Travis Etienne to have been the running back 8 last year. With all the troubles and all the terrors that are going on out there, that's really number one in this really specific moment that we're having.
Tank Bigsby was my projected running back 56. So big loss. Take the L.
Taking the L. Well, you know what? This whole segment is about taking L's, and we're taking them left and right. So everyone else doesn't have to take any next season. So just, remember this energy that we're bringing and try to apply it to your drafts. All right, you're punting back to me for this one. And you know what? I'm just going to make mine short and sweet, and then we'll end with yours because we're running up on time here. Isaiah Likely, this was the classic. I wasn't even that heavily invested in Isaiah Likely. I did like him in some best ball formats. Dynasty is a little here or there. Didn't really have him in any redraft. So not a ton invested in him, right? Week 1 comes along. The Mark Andrews panic. The Isaiah Likely baton passing, or at least I thought was maybe happening. I blew all my fab in every league that I had fab in on Isaiah Likely. There was not a dollar left, $100, $1,000, $200, whatever it was. If I didn't have him, I had him the next week, that is. And I don't think I started him 2 more games for the entire season. The Mark Andrews resurgence was not far along. I don't have any stats for you guys. I don't have any metrics. I don't have any coaching tendencies. I just made a huge mistake, and I want to come clean with it right now. So I digress on that one. Did Isaiah Likely affect you in any meaningful way last year?
Yeah. We knew that Mark Andrews was not practicing much in the offseason because of the car accident. Like that was an underrated narrative.
Sure.
But I didn't think he would hit this big in week 1. And then I didn't think that he would fade into oblivion afterwards. I don't know. Like I was expecting Likely to be decent, but I think that speaks to the emergence of Rashad Bateman or reemergence of Rashad Bateman, you know, that he filled in that role pretty nicely. And they didn't need Isaiah every season. It feels like there's one team that gets this narrative of, oh, 2 tight ends can coexist in the Gronk, Aaron Hernandez.
The only example that anybody ever has. I'm sure there's one more out there that if I put my brain to it, I could think of, but that is queued up at the top of their tip every time.
Every year there's like one team that people are like, this could happen. And it doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So
no,
yeah, it's okay.
Doesn't manifest itself. It was a weird year for tight ends all the way across the board. You look at the final finishes and it maybe stacks up like you thought it was going to be, but it's not indicative of the ride that it was for a lot of these guys. I mean, you see Sam Laporta at tight end 7. Okay, but Sam Laporta was the most maligned pick for many drafters for a large portion of the year.
Right.
And that's Jonnu Smith, tight end 4, Tucker Kraft, tight end 10, Cade Otton, tight end 11. You had guys kind of come out of the woodwork here, and they were just big. They were big dogs. They were eating. Oh, here we go. John's popping in. What's up, John? Good to see you. 2 tight ends will be Meyer and Bowers. This was one of the funny narratives for me last year. People hated the Bowers pick because they're like, we already got Mayer.
Right.
You might have the best tight end ever.
Right. And
we'll see though.
As a Notre Dame guy, like I went to the University of Notre Dame, and that's how you know people went to the University of Notre Dame. They tell you. But I'm a big Mayer guy, and he needs to get off the Raiders. Like, please, like free Michael Mayer. Let's get the rally cry out for free Michael Mayer. Please.
Let's get him in the Travis Kelce role at Matt Nagy's next stop. How about that? Does that work for you?
Pants all the way off.
All the way off. We'll take Matt Nagy if it means we can get some of that too. All right, Bradley, man of the hour here. Close us out with your final guy who just did us so damn dirty last year.
Yeah, it's quarterback.
Good one.
It's quarterback Kyler Murray, the silent killer. Like, he's very good in Call of Duty of just silently sneaking up on people and you know, virtually killing them. And this is a similar virtual kill. He is a silent killer, Chuck, because you think about where he was being drafted or like I had him projected my quarterback 10. Fine. He finishes quarterback like 13 or so, 12, 13. He's fine himself, but he kills those around him. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a 1-2 turn guy who was barely a top 36, maybe a top 36 wide receiver on the season. What was the narrative about Trey McBride this year? Oh, he's not scoring touchdowns. Literally the top 2 receiving options on Arizona are not getting touchdowns and not scoring fantasy points that they could be. He's leaving so much meat on the bone, but he himself is just going to, you know, he's not getting the hate that he deserves in the fantasy community for getting the ball to his guys, his receivers. Kyler Murray, we have grievances. Get the ball to your guys. Come on, share the load.
Coming off of a huge contract.
Give you money, you give me ideas.
And you never say thank you.
That's what the money is for.
Every time I think that, I'm just like, they gave you money, you give me points. That's what the money is for.
Right.
Oh, pain and suffering. So, okay, we're queuing into 2025 here. Kyler Murray, is he moving up, down, left, right? Where is he on your radar? And where are his ancillary pieces on your radar?
He's stuck there. He's stuck at like that purgatory of quarterback 10, 12, 8. What? Like, it's all the same. It's all the same. Like, it is. It doesn't matter.
If he falls, it's a good pick. Not reaching on him. Yeah.
If Kyler Murray falls in the middle of the woods, do you hear him? Like, you don't.
Julian. I don't know where I felt like I get a little drink around here, do you, bud?
I don't even know if that's pertinent to the conversation, but it just felt like that's how I feel about Kyler Murray. Like, it's just you got a little drinky poo around here, Julian? Oh,
Excellent.
That's tough.
Excellent.
That's tough. All right, Bradley. What a damn good time this was. This is your first time on the show. It certainly won't be your last. I want to thank you for coming on, bringing the heat. We had some excellent segments, some great stuff. So I'll give you the floor here for some plugs. Tell the people what you have coming up, where they can find you, when these Matt Nagy koozies will be coming out. Tell them about that.
Yeah. Check out playerprofiler.com/news. The news desk team just crushes. Player Profiler Now Plus is the YouTube channel. Chuck is streaming on it. The live streams are here. The news shorts are here. It's fantasy goodness. It's the gold. Make sure you're bookmarking playerprofiler.com/news. I have 2 shows. Chuck was creeping on the first one. It is Man versus Machine with Ryan Reynolds. I am the machine. Ryan's the man. We know Ryan's the man. He is excellent. He is very, very sharp. I'm just the data guy with, the numbers, and I run the best ball stuff. It's fine, whatever. And the other show is Stack Hunters with Dan Williamson. Dan is in the high stakes streets. So he offers his insights, especially in FFPC, and we talk best ball there. I do a lot of other stuff. We're ramping up fast draft content coming up. Shout out to Fast Draft. Chuck, what's your promo code?
Promo code CBASS.
CBASS.
CBASS. Right. Now that's for the Dumb and Dumber fans. That's for the Chuck Bass fans. So that's letter C, ladies and gentlemen. CBASS. Let's hope that doesn't come to bite me. People signing up deposit matches, putting in SEA, and I'm getting no kickback.
You should ask Matt Kelly to put that as a second one just in case.
Yeah, that'd be, you know what, like
2 promo codes.
Everybody loves a good screw up, and perhaps that's going to be my cross to bear.
Excellent. So yeah, you can check out a lot of those things. I tweet about best ball value rating all the time at FF Stalder. So check that out. And here we are. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate the invite. This was a lot of fun. I enjoy watching and listening to your content. So this is a privilege and honor. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. It was a blast having you. I knew the vibes are going to be, I knew, like I said, we were going to match each other's freak, kick his ass, Seabass. The crowd's out there dying for me to get off and make a pick. But I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching the stream. Bradley, as every show ends, I always ask the guests to give me a number 1 through 4 to play us out. Now's your chance.
Number 3. Number 3, my lord. Number 3.
Number 3. All right. This has been another fantasy show. Don't forget, guys, Fast Draft, Player Profiler, DFS Dominator, all the stuff. Cheers. Have a good week.
As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync, where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that, plus the rookie guide, $25 value, is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.